The All-Star break has come and gone, which means we have exactly 2 weeks of baseless trade rumors and absolutely zero idea of what the Guardians are going to do.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to another episode of Locked On Guardians. We cover your Cleveland Guardians as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And nobody is giving you daily episodes on the Cleveland Guardians that covers the Guardians from the majors to the minors, the draft, and everything in between. We did lots of draft coverage this week. Now we're back to the Major League team talking trades on today's show. I'm Justin Lada. I have been a Guardians fan since I was born. I have been on the show with my friend and coach, Jeff Ellis, since 2022. And I've been providing scouting analysis and prospect reports on the Guardians minor league system since 2007.
As you mentioned, I'm Jeff Ellis, one of the first people Locked On brought on when they wanted to talk about baseball. Before this, I was the MLB draft and prospect analyst nationally at Scouting 24/7. Want to say, first off, a big thank you to everyone who joined in for all of it, all of our everydayers. It's been awesome to have your support throughout all this draft process, as well as saying thank you for making today's podcast your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts.
Yep. And shout out to the everydayers, who has just been supporting us. We had a great time. Jeff, did you finally get some sleep? I have not yet, just because I did the MLB squad show last night or the other night, and I stayed up for the All-Star game and the swing off, which I know you did too. I know Jeff had his it was nail biting till the end of the.
I was playing the Spider-Man 2 game on my PlayStation and watching Bosch Legacy. That's what I was doing instead of watching the All-Star game. Though I still had to wake up early to get my daughter to camp, and then then it had to. Whenever it's yard work day, it's a good 20,000 steps of exercise and sweat in the sun. So I'm still pretty tired, but everyone's here to hear us talk about baseball. Here are our tired takes, not about our tired bodies.
That's exactly right. All right. On today's show, we'll get into the annual reminders about rumors, leaks, and purpose of leaks. We'll get into that later today's show. We'll talk about some realistic trade partners, if there are any for Cleveland. But of course, we have to debate first what the Guardians' trade strategy is going to be at the deadline. And the easy answer really is nobody has any idea, because I think, Jeff, it's going to be shaped by the next 2 weeks. And I think that there's a very good chance that they can do. It's all going to depend on what the market looks like, but I think there's a very good chance they'll try to play it both ways. They'll try to play somewhere in the middle of a soft sell, and maybe if they can acquire something that helps them for next year or down the stretch here, and see what they can do. But it'll all be determined by the next 2 weeks, not just because the trade deadline's in 2 weeks, but because their schedule coming out of the break is fairly easy. And as of today, they still have no clue which direction to go in.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, myself included, have done a lot of comparisons between this year and 2023. But one of the big differences I have to point out is in 2023, when they got to the All-Star break, when they got to the trade deadline, they had one of the hardest schedules in baseball going forward from that point on. And this year, right now, as of now, according to strength of schedule, they have the easiest schedule and the most home games. So it's a combination of both things. Set them up for a situation where if they can, have a nice little run here, it could continue. Though I think, it's the thing people hate to hear, but the biggest additions likely have to come from within, because the downside of 3 wildcard spots now is, listen, they're the terrible teams like the Rockies who never sell. Like last year, they should have flipped Quantrill and Rogers for anything they could have got, but they didn't. They decided to hold on to them. And there were overtures, and they turned them down just to cut both guys at the end of the year. So there are those terrible teams that never sell. Then there are the teams that are mostly already picked over. And then there's a lot of teams where, it's going to be, I don't know, it feels like there's 5 teams every year that's really willing to sell, unfortunately.
Jeff, let's if you were writing a article on the Guardians trade deadline on July 31st, what are the percentage odds that you could write this statement today and leave it in your story on July 31st? Well, Shane Bieber is better than any player we could have acquired at the trade deadline, as is Chase Slaughter and CJ Kafis or Juan Burrito. They're better than anybody we could have acquired at the trade deadline. Chris Antonetti.
Let's say 90%, because I do think there's a small chance they had someone to help. But I think it's still like, I think whoever they add, those are the players who are still likely to be the bigger impact. Like, I don't think, because again, it's like, who are you going to really add? Like, you can go and look at last year's deadline. One can make a legitimate case that Lane Thomas was the most interesting bat traded. Like, there's just no one sells anymore. It's the way
Jazz Chisholm was the best
okay, yeah, you're right, Jazz Chisholm, but
he did have a good second half once they got him. Now he can't hit home runs apparently in the home run derby, but
no, it's just it's a weird market. Like, every year people get mad, like, oh, they should have made a bigger buy. I'm like, you can't make big buys anymore. Like, it just doesn't happen in season. Like, no one, those big like, I remember being a kid and staying up till midnight and fighting to stay awake to hear Randy Johnson was going to Houston. Like, those deals don't happen anymore. Like, that is, if you're like me, you might miss those old days. Like, I do. I can remember like laying on the floor at my grandma's house, watching ESPN, waiting to see what would happen. But that's just not how these markets work.
Yeah, Major League Baseball really needs to push the trade deadline back to like August 15th. So that way, by then, more teams will be like, okay, we're definitely sellers, we're definitely buyers, instead of this in the middle stuff, because you have extra playoff teams. Like, you've added playoff teams to the field and you didn't push the trade deadline back, which makes everybody in the middle. And I'm sorry, like, here's the problem. I know we didn't intend to get into this conversation right here, but the problem baseball created for itself is, this is the same time of year where NFL training camp comes around. The trade deadline is like your last biggest headline until the playoffs. Like, you don't have a whole lot else going on in baseball. You have playoff races, but like until the playoffs, that's your biggest like national. Everything else is kind of more like regionalized. So that's your last big splash in terms of big media. And they've done themselves no favors with that, because now the trade deadline is just garbage compared to what it used to be. Yeah, I would be texting friends or on AIM chatting about the trades that were going on. Good old AIM, yeah, with the Smarter Child, the beginnings of AI, right? But yeah, I think it's going to be tough for Cleveland, because like, where are you going to add to? Because like, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot on the market anyway. You've got a lot of buyers, and like you said, the Colorado Rockies are clear sellers, but they have nothing to trade, and they probably won't trade anything. The White Sox probably will trade whatever they can, but they're not going to trade with Cleveland, because they showed last year they didn't want to give Eric Fetty to the Guardians or the Twins. And I'm trying to think of like anybody else. Like, everybody else is pretty much like in the same spot as Cleveland. Well, it's like, I don't know. We got to see what happens the next 2 weeks, because we don't know what's gonna happen. Like, the Nationals will trade some pieces. We've talked about Alex Call in the past, and it doesn't seem like he really fits them anymore. The Guardians didn't need bullpen help, but like, you're not getting Kyle Finnegan, because he's going to be the hottest name on the market.
Is he? The Pirates, he's not very good. Is the other problem, dude? Like,
he's been solid. Yeah, the Pirates will trade some things because they're way out of it, but they don't have that much to deal, because they thought they were trying to win this year. And then we were talking about Arizona off the air. Like, Arizona is in a weird spot too, where like they have the ownership thing, and they were trying to go all in for it this year, and they don't have their best player now, and Corbin Burns, their best pitcher, I should say. Zach Gallen's having a weird year. They have some impending free agents. It's not like the Diamondbacks do the same thing Cleveland does. They could do like a soft sell where they also try to like acquire something for this year and try to say, everybody is operating in the middle. Like, unless you are the Blue Jays or the Yankees or the Phillies or the Mets, if you're leading your division right now, you're a hard buyer. Everybody else is kind of like, there's nobody out front in the wild card races that's like got a clear stranglehold in the wild cards. All these wild cards are muddled in the middle. So everybody's kind of in the same position, which again is why the next 2 weeks, like, we'll talk about this more in the third segment, but you're going to hear rumors, and you're going to have conversations that kind of go both ways.
Yeah, and I will promise everyone a trade today that I've been working on leading up to this. It's not the trade I think people expect, but I've kind of had a few little thoughts here and there about things that could be fun.
It's the trade they don't want, but the trade or not the one you deserve, but the one you need, is what Jeff's trying to say. All right, we'll talk about Jeff's trade. Yes, well, at least in terms of trade. I don't know. We'll talk about Jeff's trade coming up here on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians.
Supply House. It is the place for skilled traders. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade. Supplyhouse.com. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. And ton of work has been done on this basement. Ton of work still needs to be done on this basement. We are always doing things. I used to have asbestos over there. That's not a fun thing to deal with. This HVAC over here 3-4 times a year. We're always reworking and doing things, and that's why a place like Supply House is great, because they have an easy to use website packed with helpful resources. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. For that, for trade pros looking for the edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. It's not just skilled professionals, it's for everyone. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
Appreciate you guys tuning in and making Locked On Guardians your first listen. As always, check out the MLB Squad Show and all the other stuff on Locked On MLB that has the offer there, including game night. And you can hit the bell on YouTube and you can download, auto-download all the episodes wherever you get your audio podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode of the Squad Show or anything from Locked On Guardians. We know a lot of people, we had some increase in subscribers over the draft, which we were hoping for, and thank you for being part of that. All right, Jeff, with that being said, let's hear who you're trading for. I'll start texting Chris Santana right now to make sure he has your idea in the chamber.
Okay, so this is not what people necessarily are thinking about with trades. So my whole thought process when I trade with this team, so let's be very honest. First and foremost, I don't think they're trading away anyone who could help this team next year, because I think the thought process is no matter what, you're hoping to contend every year. Sometimes it's working out, sometimes it isn't. Right now, it's an every other year thing. So the big thing for me here is, we talked about it. It's hard to find those fits to add a player that can help you right now. So unfortunately, the trade I'm working on is trading Lane Thomas, who was awesome in June. And, Nolan Jones is playing better. We're hoping Chase can get healthy at some point. I know they apparently don't want Kafis to debut as an outfielder, and that's part of the thing. But right now, Thomas isn't super available. But when I was going around looking at contenders, you mentioned like one of those teams that's contending is the Toronto Blue Jays. And they're playing, George Springer often as a DH because of his age. Addison Behringer I thought he was more of an infielder, but he's had to play a lot of outfield. He's a third baseman who they've had to play right field. They're running Joey Loperfido out there, and it's been a struggle for him. So I think there's a logic with Lane Thomas there. And then the guys I would ask for, Jerron Watts-Brown and Sean Keys. I'll just go target two of my favorite lower end prospects for them. Maybe Jace Boheffron if you want to go for some power. I know that's not necessarily the trade everyone wants. I don't know who you would even ask for them. It's like, maybe I would have to look a little deeper and see if, like, instead of one of those other bats, if you try to get one of their bench infielders, if you think it would be an improvement for this team.
Ernie Clement, come on down, come back home.
We wish you couldn't get Ernie Clement straight up for Lane Thomas right now. Let's be really honest.
That's wild, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It is wild. But that's why I'm like, I think that is the type of trade that we're kind of looking for. I went and looked at San Diego because they could also, a lot of teams could use an outfielder. Like Lane Thomas is going to have more trade value than Carlos Santana. I'll say it now. It's a cheaper salary. Teams need outfield help a lot more than they need anything else. And, the problem with San Diego is they've just they've stripped mine their minors. There just really is not a lot of, I guess if I was looking to trade with them, I'd be asking for Tyson Neighbors and see if I could do Lane Thomas for Tyson Neighbors. Ooh. And then that could be that relief help. And maybe not this year, but maybe next year would be one that could help. And you might get that. So that's what I'm kind of more looking at, because I feel like weirdly Lane Thomas is their most valuable trade asset.
Yeah, you might not be wrong. I mean, yeah, Santana, someone will take him.
Yes.
I mean, if Arizona decides they're not going to trade Josh Naylor, which, I mean, Seattle is going to do whatever they can, I think, to get Josh Naylor is my guess, because he's going to be the only first. I mean, there is Ryan O'Hearn too, who we're pretty sure is going to get traded. So Seattle's first two options are O'Hearn and Naylor, and if Naylor doesn't go, they'll try to get O'Hearn. And I don't know what the competition for O'Hearn is going to be, but Santana's kind of third in that line right there, and I don't see any reason for Cleveland not to trade him. Like, let's just even say over the next 2 weeks, like, Cleveland plays really well, which again they should, because it's a terrible schedule. I don't see any reason for Cleveland to hang on to him because, like, if you get to the postseason, I don't know what is he doing for you in the postseason. Like, he's a nice, stable player. He's obviously got a lot of clubhouse cachet, all that kind of stuff. But like
defensively, he's always going to be,
yes, defensively there's that. But CJ Capes is also a good defender at
Can I
first
throw
base.
Can I throw the Santana team for you? If those
Yeah.
other teams go hog wild, the Santana option is the San Francisco Giants, who are currently starting Dom Smith, another good defense first team. San Francisco, by the way, is getting a 87 WRC plus out of first base right now. Pittsburgh has the worst. Pittsburgh, Colorado, Miami, Chicago, Cincy. If they're looking Houston, but Houston has to play Christian Walker because they're paying him. So San Francisco stands out, and he would keep the defensive line there. I don't know. I should have done the research ahead of time. I'm sorry, everyone. That's on me. I didn't think about a trade, but San Francisco, I think, also makes a lot of sense for Carlos Santana.
I left out one team for the first base market. Is the Red Sox. The Red Sox need a first baseman because Tristan Cassis is out for the season. So the Red Sox don't have a first baseman right now.
But they've moved guys around. They're getting really high production out of first base.
Are they? Who's playing first baseman every day?
I will pull that up. Their WRC plus at first base.
It's Abraham Toro, Jeff. It's Abraham Toro.
They have a 104. They have a 104 this year at first base. It's higher than Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, how much was Devers? Did Devers ever play first base? I don't know. I'm pretty sure they would take Carlos Santana over Abraham Toro. I don't know who you're getting from the Red Sox because it's going to be a small trade. And you're right.
Yeah.
With Lane Thomas, in theory. Here's the problem, though, for Lane Thomas. He did not have a good July. He's back on the IL. Like, you're not getting.
Well, I mean, he didn't play in July. He had an awesome June. Didn't really play into July.
Like, I mean, barely.
2 games.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what you're getting from the Padres for.
Maybe you could ask Thomas. For people love. Man, why am I even trying to say his name? Jahostadnik Garcia, the outfielder.
The Red Sox, the password guy.
Yes.
Yeah, there's that. I think he also is one of those isn't Garcia one or isn't he one of those high contact
I mean, he's passive guys? No, he strikes out a lot.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of strikeouts. Yeah, he's over 26% strikeout for his career and over a 10% walk rate, highly passive player. But he's currently blocked for them. So that's the type of guy you're kind of looking for, where you can maybe get someone who could help you sooner rather than later.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I do think too, you just want to make sure you're clearing up spots for guys to come up. Like if your trade deadline approach is like maybe again soft sell, soft buy, it's like you want to make sure that whoever you trade is opening up a spot for Chase Lauder or CJ Capis and Juan Brito, while also trying to find something. Like everybody's going to need bullpen help, so like that's going to be kind of a mess because like right now this team does need bullpen help because again, Andrew Walter's out for the year, and Franco Alamán is really struggling in AAA, and Trevor Steffen's rehab is going very poorly. And like you have, I would love to see, and Seawald's back on the IL, by the way, for anybody who missed that. Seawald went back on the IL retroactive to Saturday before the break, so he's like Paul Seawald's no longer a trade option anymore. I was hoping they would be able to move him for like a low level lottery ticket, but now, if he gets healthy, like the last couple of days before the deadline, like he might be a cash considerations trade. So you've got to make moves that open up spots for other guys. Because
I think we figured it out. You trade Lane Thomas, so you get Tyson Amers who can help you, and then you get Garcia for Santana, who can play center field as well and give you another option in center field because DeLauder is not going to play center, neither is Capis. Opens up first base for Capis. If DeLauder is healthy, he can have time in right field with Jones and Password in center. And if he isn't healthy, then you've got Jones and Password to play as well. So, boom. I took care of business.
Yeah.
Text this to the front office. I'm done.
Call it in. All right. Fax it in. Just don't give the fax number to Hugh Jackson because he might not get it in time. All right. We have to talk about the usual disclaimer this time of year. It is silly season. What is it? Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. We'll talk about that next on today's Locked On Guardians. Well, the Guardians will be thinking about how they're going to manage their money at the deadline, as does everybody else. Do you ever wish that managing your money, felt a little bit easier? I know I do. Monarch Money can help you with that. Whether you're trying to grow savings, if you're planning a big purchase, I'm going to gaslight Jeff right now and let you know that, hey, school is not that far away, and school supplies cost a lot of money, and you're going to have stuff to buy for your kids. And I knew it was going to hurt Jeff. Monarch Money can help you plan for those things like back to school shopping, or hey, let's go even further. Christmas is only 6 months away. We're almost to Christmas in July. You want to start saving now for that big Christmas present. Maybe you want to go on a trip. Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat to do all of that. It gives you your own personal CFO, visible and control over your finances. I know I had a lot of birthdays and all that kind of stuff, and parties to plan this summer, so I need to get back on track, and that's where Monarch Money is going to help me so I can accomplish my goals after all that spending I did. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. It's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Jeff and I are no longer friends because I said that.
Okay, so here's the I now have the if they trade Santana, the Giants, who to maybe ask for. Maybe Joe Whitman, who we talked about, the
Sean
Kent
Jelly?
State arm lefty. So he could because I think he's probably a reliever anyway. So maybe you get a future lefty reliever that way.
Yeah, I mean the Giants also need bullpen help. Their bullpen is stripped.
Well, he's a guy in AA. He's not going to help him anytime soon. So just
Yeah,
an idea,
that's true.
throwing some stuff at a wall, seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
the thing,
that
too.
way, if you trade them both to the National League, then you can also be like, hey, we're not helping anyone in front of us.
Yeah. That's a good point too. You're talking about like different ways, like who you're having conversations with. That's the thing you're going to hear. I think that's the big thing to focus on the next 2 weeks is you're going to hear a lot of things because a lot of teams are still trying to figure out where they're going to go in this race. Like, like the Red Sox just got hot, so they're probably going to be buyers. But like, what happens if they tank the next 2 weeks? Are they not going to be buyers? I don't know. The Rays are in a wild card spot, but they're 3 games above 500. The Royals and Twins are in a weird spot. The Rangers, who have been pretty awful this year, they're back to almost 500, and they just demoted Jake Burger, I think, or put him on the injured list. So like they've got, maybe the Rangers need a first baseman. I don't know. The point is, you're going to hear a lot of the next 2 weeks. We've already heard it, right? We've already heard this story from LA about Quan and Clase, and I had someone else text me a trade. Yeah, there was another one, Jeff. You'll love this one. This is from our friend Troy. He said that he saw an article with Clase going to the Phillies for Aiden Miller and then another prospect I haven't even heard of. And the article was like, well, Aiden Miller is one of the best hitting prospects in baseball. And I'm like, in what league? Like the Banana Ball League? Like he is playing in the best hitters park on the East Coast in minor league baseball, and he's not hitting good. Like that's the one
he's
place
above average, but like in that park, he should be crushing it.
Yeah. So you're going to hear a lot of silly stuff like that. And I think the other thing you're going to hear too is like you might hear it both ways. You might hear that, well, the Guardians and not the Guardians. Because we'll get to that in a second. But you're going to hear like things where some teams like the Rays or whoever else, where they might be having conversations about trading, a big leaguer, but also trading for a big leaguer, because you're going to have all these teams in the middle who are trying to navigate what direction they're going to go. And the Rays may not be a good example of that, but you know what I mean? Like you're going to hear a lot of that stuff because these teams are trying to figure it out. So you're having conversations both ways. You want to get that dialogue going. They probably already have it going, but you want to have that dialogue where, okay, we're going to trade Santana to the Giants because they should do that no matter what. Trade him anyway, but you're going to have those conversations where, okay, we're going to do a soft sell. We're going to trade this player and this player, but we also want to have conversations about players we want to acquire. So you're going to probably hear both those rumors, but Jeff, the important thing to remember is like, especially when it comes to this LA proposal, which isn't even, there's no source behind it. Like, I don't think there is anyway. The one guy is the host of Locked on Dodgers, so I don't want to denigrate our own network or anything, but like, I don't see a whole lot of sense in that, because while the Dodgers are probably the one team in baseball that has enough juice to get either of those players, especially Clase, I don't think they're going to do it. So like, just again, believe half of what you hear or half of what you see and none of what you hear, because we know one thing about the Guardians. Nobody had any idea that they were taking Jace Laviolette in this draft. Like everybody was mocking them to get the usual players, right? The Tate Sudasines and the Anthony Ienson, and who else was on that list? It was some other someone had a mock
Caden Bodine kept popping up all the time.
Right? Yeah. Nobody knew what their plan was, and maybe they didn't know their plan because they didn't know Jace Laviolette was going to be there, and that's who they had the top on their board at that point. I don't know. The point is, Cleveland's Fort Knox. So if there's a rumor out there that involves Cleveland, again, consider, okay, who does this benefit? Who's releasing it? Because it sure as heck isn't Cleveland. And if it is, there's a reason for it, and it's trying to negotiate. And there is one thing out there, Jeff, that you read, which we can probably debate a little bit here.
Well, before we get into that, I also want to point out too that we spend a lot of time on this show trying to come up with our own trades, our own ideas, and everything else, and we look at things. And last year, no mention of Lane Thomas or Alex Cobb at all.
Correct. Correct.
Like, to throw that out there. And I'm currently having a brain cramp about exactly what you wanted me to talk about. I'm trying to remember which article it is.
That the Guardians were not trading Clase or
Kate Smith. Okay. I'm sorry, that part. So yes. So Paul Hoynes, who does, often break news with the org, like he gets information ahead of time, is, when he makes a definitive statement that does stand out to me, and he did make a definitive statement that they're telling teams they're not trading Clase or Smith. And I think that's smart because we talked about it. Every team needs relief help. This team, they want to contend next year. They're not sitting here punting next season away. Even if they sell off the pieces that could be free agents, to me, those sell-offs are more about opening spots than anything else. Like, if I'm being honest, like Carlos Santana is a top 5 player for me all time, but I'm happy to see him move out so Kafis can get his shot. But I think, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be a situation where they decide that someone bowls them over. But I'm very curious to see. But it is interesting that we have multiple conflicting bits of information all coming out at the same time.
You mean the definitive statement that he made in 2016 when Carlos Carrasco broke his hand that the Indians at the time, their World Series hopes were over?
But that was a opinion.
That was a definitive statement.
It was, but it was an opinion statement. It was not there was not inside information.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
But I mean, we were all thinking it. He just said it. Let's be honest. That we were thinking it. He just said it out loud.
The other half of that there, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, and I'm not saying this is happening, but when that kind of stuff gets put out, is that intentional? Because again, we know the Guardians never leak anything. That seems like it would be a leak. So why would the Guardians want that statement out there? And for the record, I don't think Kate Smith's going anywhere. I don't think Clase is going anywhere. Obviously, it's more likely that Clase than Kate Smith, but they're all both, I think, low. But if you're going to put that out there, if he's getting that from a team source, there's a reason they're saying that, and that's because guess what? If you're going to make an offer for one of these guys, it better be to the moon offers. And the offers that are out there, like, let's go back. The Dodgers do have pieces the Guardians would want, right? Like, they do have Josu DePaula, or Josue. I think it's Josue DePaula, I think is how you pronounce it. That's a guy Cleveland would want. Dalton Rushing fits Cleveland to a T right now. He doesn't chase, but he has a ton of whiff. He can catch. He might be able to play outfield. That's a guy Cleveland would want. Are the Dodgers going to trade him? I don't know. I do think they would trade Rushing. But here's the thing about and some of these proposals that were out there were like Clase plus Quan. There is not a team out there, I'm sorry, that has the pieces
to do both,
to acquire both of them. Because I guess the Dodgers, if they really wanted to give you like Zaire Hope and DePaula and Rushing, they'd also have to give you Pages. And guess what? They ain't doing that because Pages is the only competent outfielder besides Tommy Edman, even though he's not a full-time outfielder. Like, Tasker Hernandez is having a rough year. Conforto's a bust, as much as I liked him in the offseason. Like, Rushing and DePaula are the two big guys they have to trade. Could that net them Stephen Quan or Clase? Sure, it could. But there also has to be pieces to go with it, and I don't know if the Dodgers will do that because, the Dodgers, what did they give up for, a couple of months of Jack Flaherty was what?
The catcher.
Dairon Lorenzo, and then there was somebody else. So, yeah, Flaherty was a rental, and they haven't really bought guys with control recently, have they?
No. I was trying to think about, like, what Turner was maybe the last one when they did the Scherzer-Turner deal.
Yeah, well, Scherzer I don't think had any control,
he didn't,
but Turner did.
Turner did.
Had another year. Yeah, what did they give up for him? Keibert Ruiz was like the best player that went back to the Nationals, and was it Josiah Gray?
Yeah, it was Gray and Ruiz, and then Gray has just been unable to stay healthy. He was an all-star for them that 1 year. Jake Ruiz, Bowers, by the way, was part of that deal. No, it was a different deal. So they got Gerardo Carrillo, Donovan Casey, who I've already forgotten about, Josiah Gray and Keeper Ruiz. God, Donovan Casey.
Not a good trade.
No.
Yeah, not a good trade. I mean, for the record, I would love Dalton rushing because, again, he does solve some outfield issues because he could play outfield. He could solve some catching issues. So, like, if we're talking about, like we talked about last segment about trying to find fits, like, yes, that makes sense. But you said, like, I don't think Kwan's happening in season this year. Is that a conversation that could happen over the offseason? Maybe.
It's hard because he is an outfielder without power, and that's always going to limit his trade. Like, he feels like that guy is always going to be more valuable to the team that has him than the outgoing team. Like, I don't think Stephen Kwan gets traded until it's a Naylor-esque situation, until it's the year before he enters free agency.
Yeah, Cleveland hasn't really traded guys like Victor Martinez. Is he the last one they traded that had multiple years of control?
Hitter-wise, yeah. I mean, the only other guy I can think of is Clevenger, and Clevenger also had, like, off the field issues. They were done with him.
They were waiting to get rid of him. Yeah, nobody else they've traded since then.
No.
Not to be fair, they were in a different spot than then, but they are, again, the Guardians like to thread the needle. They like to try to contend every year while being the youngest team in baseball. And I could sit there and say that's not working because they make the playoffs some years, and some years they look like this in 2023. So I'm not saying it's a good strategy, but that's the strategy they take. So you have to consider that into when you hear these silly, goofy rumors, which you're going to hear a lot of over the next 2 weeks. So again, just remember,
because it shows that they have good players that people want.
This is true too. Just remember, but leaks happen for a reason because agents are doing it and other teams are doing it because they're trying to get leverage. It always benefits somebody, and the Guardians are one of the teams that very rarely leaks unless there's a purpose, like, maybe this other thing. All right, Jeff and I will be back tomorrow. We'll do some post-draft prospect rankings. We talked a little bit on Tuesday's show, but we're actually going to hammer out our rankings live on the air. After the post-draft, we'll talk guards, A's. Maybe we'll talk a little bit of more trade deadline stuff. Who knows? We'll get into a lot of fun stuff, but you should be here tomorrow.
Why don't we each come with one trade tomorrow for segment 3? Why don't we each
come
with one trade?
Prospects, trades, Guardians, A's. That's what you got tomorrow to look forward to. Come hang out tomorrow. We'd love to have you.
Yes. And why don't you drop your trade, and we'll go through and pick our favorite and also feature that on top of ours. So drop your favorite trade. Boom. And we'll each have ours, and that's our third segment tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us. Remember, rate and review, download daily. It helps. Tell a friend. We're getting close to 5,000. Be an awesome number of people to have on here. Thank you all for your support.